I didn't know I was creative till about 7 years ago, and I discovered I could do things with words and spoken word and poetry. And 3 years ago I gave up work just to have this adventure and see what happened, and I was meant to give myself 3 months just to roll with this creative thing, and it turned out to be a year. So at the end of that year I decided, right, I'm going to be sensible now, I'm going to go and get some supply work and be grown up and, you know, stop playing about. And a few weeks before that happened, I was in the 3 Minute Theatre downstairs, and I was chatting to John, who's one of the people who owns it and runs it, and he was asking me how my year had been, and I was telling him how it had been amazing. I described it as like being Alice falling down the rabbit hole, and how I'd had 3 poet residencies that were amazing, and I was just going on about how amazing these residencies were, and he just had this, what I can only describe as a light bulb moment. He just said, do you know, I bet Afflecks could do it a bit good if they had a poet in residence. Will I go and talk to the manager? So he made an appointment, and I went and spoke to this guy who I'd never seen before, and he said, what would a poet in residence be about? And I just made it up as I went along. I just said, oh, we shouldn't have a poet in residence, you should have a creative in residence, somebody who should record, celebrate and promote creativity of all kinds. You should give them a quiet room and the quietest floor and let people just come in and create, and I just sort of, yeah, I just ran with it. October the 1st, 2015 I think, well, it's basically 2 years and 3 months. I've met so many people who have influenced how I've taken my life, what direction I've done, and decisions I've made, real friends of all ages. But in this space, I'm not anybody's particular friend, grandma, counsellor, advisor. You know, it's not that sort of thing. I'm here getting as much out of it as everybody else is as well. So yes, although I have met some amazing people I know will, you know, be in my life for all sorts of reasons, whether it's through it being a friend or maybe through creativity and doing plans with. Yeah, I'm not here to make friends, you know. When I was little, I absolutely was the shyest, quietest child who wanted to be invisible. I didn't want to talk to anybody on the streets. I wanted, you know, I was just really, really, really quiet. And in the One Woman Show I did, part of it is about how if I had 3 wishes when I was little, it'd be to be invisible, and to always be invisible, and to be able to, you know, sort of whatever. The thing is, as you get older, you do become quite invisible. So, like in Edinburgh, walking down the Royal Mile, people would be flying for their shows, giving them all out, and then would miss me. I've done this weird reversal thing from wanting to be invisible. I still want to be invisible in many ways. I really sort of like want to be just watching the world. Weirdly, I've become incredibly visible. Not because I've looked for it, but yeah, I've had some of my poetry on TV, on nationwide adverts, and big pictures of me looking down from every single nationwide building society in the country, and my poem that I wrote about Afflecks is in massive words on the outside of this building. And I've been, you know, there's a documentary crew just finished. They wanted to make a documentary about me, which is going to be released next month. Yeah, I've gone from being, yeah, I found my voice and I want it to be heard, and I have no problem about saying, look, you know, just don't make assumptions about me because of whatever, and I try not to do the same about others, but my face is known and I am known. And yeah, whereas when I first started here I could walk around anywhere around Manchester. Now, you know, you can walk through Piccadilly Gardens, it's hi Joy, and it might be somebody I don't know who they are because I don't remember them, but they remember me, and I don't know if it's from here or doing my poetry or off the telly or whatever. It's been a very strange year. although I'd never thought I was creative myself, I could see the power of creativity. I tried everything, knitting and painting and writing. Well, I couldn't do it, it's just not me. But I used to work particularly with youngsters who'd been excluded from school, who had all sorts of emotional problems and things, and I could see the power of all forms of creativity and how it could transform, but never found it in myself. So I used to buy in artists to work with the youngsters. Then about 8 years ago, I just decided to shake things up. The way I describe it is life's fine, but it's boring. If you keep doing the same things, you keep getting the same things. So I decided to shake it up by following any weird coincidences that happened, just for fun. And I had a year, the weirdest year I've ever had in my life. Myself and 100 people, we all took cabbages for a walk on Leeds through Manchester with the Chinese artists. See, there's hundreds of stories like that just in that year, for me following coincidences. So one of them led me to go to a 1-hour poetry writing workshop in Wigan, right, on a Saturday afternoon. So I went along. Of course, there's no way I was going to share poetry. That would have been the scariest thing. But I sat down next to this woman who said she was, look her up actually, she's really good. She's Louise Fazzacoli, and she was a performance poet. And I was sort of saying, well, what do you mean, what's a performance? And anyway, at the end of the hour, she turned to me and said she was putting on an event at Wigan Museum of Wigan Life, something like that, yeah. And would I write a poem and perform it? Because I was following coincidences, I said yes. I said yes, I will do it. Then thought, what have I done? What have I said? What have I done? Anyway, I wrote my first poem. That's a lie. I did write 2 when I was about 10 or 11. I can still remember. I'm really bad, but yeah. So I wrote this poem about Wigan. It was a comedy poem, and I didn't go to the rehearsals because I was too terrified of the words wouldn't come out of my mouth. So I went down to her house the night before and I still couldn't. She made me stand against the wall. I still couldn't get words out. Words just, it's how I've been all my life. So I said to her I'd turn up, but I might not actually be able to perform. I did it. I stood up and I did it, and I was terrified. But I did it, and I thought, yeah, I'm dead proud of myself. Never, ever again am I going to do anything remotely like that. But I've met some really nice people who told me that there was a poetry night in Wigan at the Tudor pub. So I started going, and for about 6 months I just sat at the back and just quite loved it. But what actually got me into this was that one night some new people were sat at the same table as me, and they were dead nervous, saying, oh, I don't think I can do it, I don't think I can do it. And I heard myself saying, well, I've got a poem, I'll get up and do it if you do yours. So I got up and did my poem again, and I was terrified, but not as much as last time. And I just thought, I could do better. So every month I went and tried something different. I tried to memorise it, I tried humour, I tried audience participation, I tried political, I just ran with it. And I just thought, this is nice, I'll go and try some others. And I went further afield and discovered that a lot of the poetry nights are lovely people, but they're very dull and they're very worthy, and all the people going and then telling each other how amazing they are, and it's only poets in the audience, and it just wasn't my style. There's poetry for everyone, but the raucous stuff that I'd had at the Tudor pub was really what I enjoyed, the connecting, and well, basically it took off from there. I started winning slams and competitions and being asked to do guest spots and getting paid work and running workshops and it just, yeah, that's how it started. Right from the start, partly deliberate, but partly just the way I am. I'm not a niche poet. Nobody could. Some people know me as a comedy poet. Some people know me as a political. Some people know me as a very quiet, sensitive, and others, a ranty poet. There is no favourite to write about. There's favourites to perform, That's a different thing. I love performing things where you really, really affect the audience, where you connect in a good way. And that could be that they're absolutely killing themselves laughing. It could be that they rethink something that they've always thought. It could be that they cry in a good way. But yeah, I try not to get stereotyped and pigeonholed. For a good 2 or 3 years I used to say, oh, I mess about with words, I write a few lines of poems. And to actually be able to say I am a poet was a big stage. To actually, yeah, I actually am a poet was a massive thing for me. Songs can really touch in different ways and can evoke different moods and make you think, and poetry's the same. You know, it can completely bore you and turn you off, just like some songs. And when people say I don't like country music, or I don't like jazz, or I don't like whatever, they don't say I don't like music, and yet some people say I don't like poetry. And I just say to them, you just haven't found the right poetry yet. It's there, but you know, there is something that you like. And yeah, it's powerful stuff. And yeah, I get inspired every single day through how I live my life and how I write and what other things I now do creatively by everybody I come in contact with, you know, including yourselves, everybody who comes in this space, the things that happen. We're all moulded by the connections we have and what happens around us, and I'm lucky that I get hundreds every day. And I'm not in this space all the time, I'm out doing loads of things. I'm travelling across the country doing other things, and I get inspired by people who are amazing performers, and equally I can get inspired by somebody who I don't particularly like their performance or their poetry, but they are an amazing person. So yeah, you just have to look out for inspiration around you. It's there. It's easy to miss it sometimes. You know, it's often the very quiet people who are just doing very lovely things that are inspiring. So my mum, who's 92, is the most inspiring. She thinks she's just ordinary. She thinks she's nothing special, and she is. She's amazing. Yeah, the minute I stop being inspired, yeah, it's time to put my boots up and sit down in the rocking chair with the knitting and stop doing anything. And yeah. It's really strange because people assume that I spent my childhood, well, in Affleck's. Well, one, it didn't open as Affleck's Palace as it is till '82, and by then I was living away from here. And although I knew about it and I had been in a couple of times, it wasn't that wasn't part of my life. Since being based here, I see how much it means to other people. It's so many people describe it as home, or the place I can be myself, or the place I discovered who I was, or yeah, the places like this should exist in the world, like Affleck's. There should be more because so many cities have lost them. It's a magnet for the amazingly weird of the planet, and it's fine to be amazingly weird here. And I mean, essentially it is a business, lots of independent businesses trying to do it differently than working for the corporation. And yeah, it inspires a lot of people. My future and the future of this creative space in Affleck's will depart at some point. I don't know when that's going to be. Alright, it was meant to be a couple of years ago. I've certainly got some exciting new projects linked to Affleck's that will continue, but I'm looking to bring on more and more people to be part of it. It's always had loads of volunteers who've been amazing, but I've just brought on the first creative, Genevieve Walsh, who is an amazing poet who discovered Affleck's when she was young, and it was a place that's really close to her. She is actually taking on the poetry poetry in residence side to free me to be able to do other things. So I'm actually letting go of poetry in Affleck's so I can do other poetry elsewhere and other things here. I've got a whole list of things I want to do, and so I want to find a way of Affleck's continuing to have this creative space, but not needing me here as much, not me at the helm. So the first step is we're getting involved with, we're just starting getting involved with Central Library, and one of the archivists there called Siobhan is been coming in and is working with young people to capture the stories of Affleck's, and she's got bringing equipment in, capturing their stories and also getting them to capture other people's stories, and it'll be archived in the library. There'll be a digital exhibition, and then if it works well at the end of February, we're going to put in a bid for some money to do something big style that will allow me to link with other places in the Northern Quarter, get this running with some other organisations that I'm working with, and then that can be running and I can be stepping further away and seeing what other adventures are out there for me. Because, yeah, I'm doing 180 new things over 3 years, and I've only got till October to make the 180. So I've got to start doing a lot of new things. Oh, and all the new things have to be cheap and through real people. So I'm looking forward to that. Then when I get to October, yeah, around that time it'll be 3 years here, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but it'll be something different. I'll still be connected, but obviously, as amazing as this space is, I've got life beyond this as well. My mum was Betty Davis, or Greta Garbo, on those rare nights when she would go and leave me and Dad at home. She'd hang her pinny behind the bedroom door, take off the slippers that she always wore, fold her headscarf into the dressing table drawer and transform into a star. And I'd watch as her hands that worked the mangle and yanked the tangles from her hair, would tease the curls from the rollers and unfurl them with such care. Then a little mist of spray and just enough of brown on face with a powder puff. With breath held tight and eyes open wide, I'd watch the lipstick twist and the red rise. Left slide, right slide, smack lips tight and press down gently on a hanky white. Then she'd be off down the path with no rush or fuss, and I'd peer through the window till she got on the bus, race back to the table and cradle the hanky with a shadow red kiss that she'd left just for me. And I knew there'd be a red carpet when she got off the 33, with crowds and photographers admiring her beauty, because they would all love her, but not as much as me. Now this was in Little Hulton, Salford Council's overspilled suburbia. And this was at the end of the 50s, still painted in post-war sepia, with no hint of the 60s psychedelia that was round the corner. And even now, as I dig in my bag overstuffed with tact and disorder, I'll feel those ridges and I'm back. New York, London, Paris, Rome, Estee Lauder. But there's often a tear in my eye, because I don't see magic in the mundane, just grown-up reality. But there's a bloody big smile too, because 50 years on, none of her dignity and charm have gone. It's there in every wrinkle, every line, every gesture, every movement, so refined. So here's to you and all that you are. To my mum, forever a star. Mwah.